Honorable Speaker, I'll first of all thank the ministers that are present to witness the adjournment debate. I want to also say that this National Assembly should look upwards. We should not look backwards. We should look upwards. I just want to say that we should not in any way compare ourselves to the past National Assembly. The past National Assembly was not a normal one, in that the people who were representing here were not free. They were entangled with chains. We are free. We've removed that chain. So we cannot compare ourselves to those people. We should look up to democracies that are progressing. We can do so in West Africa, we can do so in Africa, we can do so outside of Africa. And we should not underrate ourselves. Those of us who went to the EU Parliament could realize that when we were discussing about coalition, a parliamentarian was brought to us to discuss coalition with us. And after the discussion, she was so impressed and asked herself why she was there. That it should have been the other way around. That we are called to go and talk to them about coalition rather than they talking to us about coalition, because of the way we have handled the discussion. So, Honorable Speaker, in the same vein, we should not lower the capacity of this government and compare it to the past government. The past government was not normal. This one is brought about by democracy. And we are trying to make that democracy to work. We are trying to make that democracy to work. We are trying to bring democracy and make sure transparency and accountability works. Everybody said what has passed is a dictatorship. This time, we don't want to compare ourselves to dictatorship. Anytime I hear somebody comparing us to the past, I wonder whether that person knows where we are going. This government should be far above that. We should compare this government to progressive governments. We expect a lot from this government because we believe that we brought this government about and not the other way around. The other past government believed that they brought power to themselves by taking guns and stealing power from those the people gave. So it's a completely different situation. You know, we should excel above that. It's just a way of passing. Honorable Speaker, I want to also mention the President's talk, because when I mentioned it here to the minister, there was laughter. But it's not laughter, it's very serious. We must help our people to understand how government operates. We have budgeted almost 20 million for the president to tour the country. But yet still, the poor people, being enthusiastic, put their meager resources together and kill bulls and buy, tens of bags of rice and cook all kinds of dishes and call jalibas and all these things, entice and welcome the president. But then the way the schedule was done, you put a certain community's name in the list that the president is going to reach this village. And they took it upon themselves to do everything to make sure that his visit to their village does not fail. The way they see it is that they must make it as groovy as possible, so that the president will feel that, definitely, yes, these people, they have recognition from me. So, but then if the president does not reach there, because information does not reach them adequately to know whether he is going to reach, come or not, until they go off the way and kill all these bulls and waste all these resources, only to be told that the president will not reach you, in the last minute, after they do all that. It's real a lot of waste. So information is very important in some of these things that we do. Honorable Speaker, I'll go to security. The crime rate, the last time we were arguing about the crime rate, but really I was amazed. Whenever I go to Brikama Court, I had a brother of mine had a case at the Brikama Court, which I continue to monitor. But every time I go there, I see very young people being chained together and brought to the court. And they are most of the time charged with breaking into people's homes and stealing. That is something that we need to proactively look at and see how best to minimize that. The explanation that some people give that if arresting people, we need to carefully look at that, because arresting people does not mean that they are criminals. You can arrest somebody who is very innocent. There is presumption of innocence and presumption of guilt. So we must respect that. So, Honorable Speaker, juvenile crime must be looked at seriously, because these are our young people. And most of the time, the homes they come from, do not have time for them. There must be a system in place, a school system in place that will make these people keep busy going to school so that they become better adults. Honorable Speaker, I spoke about the mentally challenged here, which is a big concern to me. Every time I go on the street, I see mentally challenged people roaming about and walking on the street, and some doing some things that are not decent. The last time, I was following a vehicle that knocked a mentally challenged person until he fell down, but the driver did not stop. The driver just continued, because it was at night and it was dark. So he just hit him, he was on the wayside and he's gone. So we have to really put something in place to help these mentally health people, challenged people, to get to the necessary treatment centers like Tanka for treatment. Because once upon a time I had a friend who was mentally challenged. And when he gets to these departments, he tells them some funny things, that he wanted to be the king of the Gambia, and it is his time now to be king. So they could not understand him. They reported him to the NIA, and the NIA arrested him. And then when I spoke to the NIA, they decided to transfer him to a police station in Serakunda. And then following the case, we eventually take him to Tanka. And then he was treated there. He was very well. If you see him now, you will not know that he was a mentally challenged person. So it is important that if we have something in place, we see people on the road, there must be somewhere, a responsibility somewhere. I would have believed that an institution like the police would help any of those mentally challenged people and take them to Tanka, for treatment. Secondly, I believe that, an institution like Tanka needs to be decentralized. You have mentally challenged people all over in Wuli East. And, there is no treatment there. So how do you bring them to these other places. If you take them to Bajakunda Health Center, for the Kunda Health, they have no medicine for them, they have no experience in handling those cases. So, but if it is decentralized, like Basse has a center, then all the mentally challenged people in that area, in the URR, could go to Basse for treatment. You know, it will be easier for their people to take them to those centers than to bring them all the way to Tanka. Honorable Speaker, I mentioned Basse. And as I stand now, Basse is flooded. Basse is flooded. The other market is completely evacuated. No one is there. Everybody has left the market. It's flooded. If you are there, the water is at your hip. Right now. So this is why I was saying, if we want to build a road and build a bridge, it's not just about the bridge, but the road must start from the city center to go, and then a bridge, and then, you know, after the bridge also, the road continues at a high level. Otherwise, during this period of the rain season, no transport will be able to cross there. Before you get to the bridge, you cannot swim with a transport. So you must go up and get to the bridge. Right now, the MRC Health Center at the Basse Bank, the river bank, is evacuated. They cannot be there because of the flood. They cannot reach their station. So that's why now they established 2 centers. During the rain season, they come to the riverside. In the dry season, during the dry season, they come to the riverside. During the rains, they go back away from the area so that they'll be able to continue their job. Honorable Speaker, I spoke about electoral reform. I have 2 minutes. Well, that's okay. Electoral reform is something that's long overdue. I believe that if we are going to, like I said before, we're not going to be a cosmetic reform on elections. We are going to look at it squarely and then be able to address it adequately. We need to start early. And 3 years to election or 2 years to election may be sufficient, but anything less than that may not serve our purpose. Because like I said, I want it to be registered, that's why I'm repeating it. Like I said, we have people outside. Gambians outside really want to participate in the manner of government. They want to be participating in the election of their representatives, of their president. They want to participate. And if we want to succeed, we must include Gambians outside. Whether we know it or not, about a quarter or maybe 1/3 of the Gambian people are living outside. We have so many people living outside who want to participate. So to register all those people requires a lot of thinking. A lot of thinking. So we need to take that very seriously. And the Minister of Justice is here, so I think you will take note of that. I thank you, Honorable Speaker. I thank you, Honorable Members. Thank you very much for giving me.
Honorable Member for Old Yundum.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for giving me the floor.